Hey, what's up, guys? Uh, hey, what's up, guys? Uh, I don't know if I I just gotta make sure that okay, so audio is working because I'm clicking I'm here, I'm seeing the little green bars show up, so audio is working. Um, yeah, my room is a mess. So this video, I just decided to make this video out of the blue because I'm bored and I actually I got stuff to do, but I'd rather do this to be honest with you because I'm more interested in discussing this right now. So the topic is how we can continue to innovate in our space and in the montage space and how we can make our videos better. Um, yeah. So I actually wrote up something real quick. Like I was gonna post this on my Twitter, but I figured I just make like a video for this. Excuse me. I figured I'd just make a video for this and go from there. Um, excuse me. I just had an energy drink. Um, so let's get started. So first thing I wrote is this is what I wrote, and I'm just looking at my phone. My phone's right here, and I got it like on a stand and everything, and I'm reading off of it. So it says, I've been thinking about how we can improve our videos beyond sound design now that everyone seems to be on the same page about that. So it looks like people kind of agree, and I think there's seems to be a whole uh what's it called there seems to be like a general agreement or agreement that the audio was definitely where we were lacking um in our videos and where we could have improved. And um I think now that we've addressed that and that we kind of have become aware to it, the question comes down to like how do we continue to innovate in the space beyond actual audio design and sound design. There's so many things you can do with sound design, and there's a whole there's a whole freaking way you can go about like having doing that. And there's so many creative things that you can do with sound. And I think that's definitely a space that we have always excelled in as a Halo montage editors, but also where we've also lacked in terms of like professional kind of like development and professional kind of like audio sound work, because we never really had that. We never really had anyone outside of like a few videos. I think I can name maybe one or two off the top of my head that had like really like professional level sound design. And those videos are The Avengers by CJ and Muggsy, and then also Prime by Haunt. So a lot of those videos actually came from the Viral Design team, and those guys back then were they were trying to like make a business out of this whole thing. And that's probably why they focus so much on the sound design, and they identified that early. But beyond that, as videos kept coming out, a lot of people didn't really pay particularly good amount of attention to the sound design, and that seemed to be where we most lacked. um, Although, like I said, our videos as Halo montage creators have always been strong in the sound design because of the Spartan screams and of guys like Furion, for example, who made progression and then pretty much influenced a bunch of people after that. And then also Sanguine Wave by Obscure Terror, which kind of showed how to use sound in a very creative way to really enhance the viewer experience. But besides that, besides the sound, um, I wanted to touch on how we can kind of make these videos better, as far as like besides sound, right? So I wrote this up. I had said, since everybody's on the same page about sound, and we can all agree we can definitely work on our sound design, and by that I mean transitioning between songs and using the most high quality kind of like sounds that we can in our videos, and also just getting creative in general with the sound design, and using an abundance of sound effects. And generally speaking, like that's one way that we can definitely make our video shine even more. And I'm glad that everybody's on the same page about that. Now I'll touch on this. I I'd come up with some things that I thought were interesting to kind of touch on as far as like what else we can look to for improving our videos. So the first thing is creativity. And when I say creativity, I mean like, you know, like originality, uniqueness of a video edit, particularly the sound and the video effects together to create kind of like a unique experience for the viewer. So um, creativity is huge, and all this stuff ties together that I'm going to list out. Technicality, and technicality is like technicality of effects. So like obviously, like there are effects that look good in just about every video. Like optics compensation looks good, RGB split, and I've been asking people like what effects they think look good in almost every video. Blurs, um, blurs and contrast stuff. What's called RGB split, uh, horizontal bars. I mentioned optics compensation. Um, any kind of like fading fading to black, black fades, fade to black, fade to anything really. Crossfades look good in pretty much every video as well. um cuts generally, I mean, a good cut like that good, there's something to be said about cuts, like, good cuts like in a video like make it look clean. And I think there's definitely something we can learn um, from like videos like Tempest and particularly Blackhawk, and the way he does his cuts, and also GTS does his cuts are really nice. I think there's definitely something to be learned about those cuts, and also like creators like Katha and stuff who do like these amazing cuts that look so professional and clean. But also the reason that works is because of the technicality of the effects. So um, when I say technicality, I mean like how original and how difficult the effect is to do. So when I say technicality, I mean like if we look at, for example, Project Surrender, there's one effect in there that, outside of all the effects in there in that video, all the effects in that video are pretty much they're pretty easy to do. They're generally like keyframe animations and stuff. But the one effect that I think is a good effect that I think is original too, although maybe not original anymore because it was used in the video, but um, is that data mosh effect. So I think if we can get creative with like stuff like that, like data moshing, any other kind of unique kind of effects that we can draw from and incorporate in our videos, is really gonna elevate the work, because those are original unique effects that nobody is doing in videos. So stuff like that is like really cool, I think. Those original kind of effects, like even that CC time blend effects in that video that turns things to smoke, like that's really cool too. So like if we can incorporate things like that, data moshing, any other stuff, obviously, like if I would know all the effects that we haven't used, I you know I would be making like ridiculously good videos. But I that takes education, and you have to study and everything. And so that's one thing that we can definitely we can improve upon. And so like using more original effects basically in our videos, and more technical effects, more difficult effects, like that are difficult to do. So like the data mosh is good because that is actually pretty hard to do unless you use a plugin. If you use a plugin, then that's like cheating basically. But if you're doing it like by hand, or using the content aware fill and stuff like that, doing it through After Effects like that, there's a whole story to that. And really powerful stuff in my opinion, using original effects like that. So technicality of effects, huge. Um, Next thing is consistency. So consistency in usage of effects, um, and usage of like a theme, basically. So that's the next one too. Is theme and consistency kind of go hand in hand. Theme and consistency, those two things are huge in a video. If you can, even if you like, let's say you don't have the technicality of the effects down, and there's really, you find it too difficult to do these really hard and intricate and like elaborate effects, and you really don't want to put that much effort into it. You could have a pro ass looking video and like a solid ass production of a video by consistently using the same effects throughout a video. And I know it sounds like it's unoriginal and uninspired, but it does end up looking good, like a neat, really nice, neat little package after the video is done. When you use effects consistently, the same effects throughout the video, and that ties into pacing too. Like if you pace the the effects and also use the same effects, like it ends up looking like really fucking pro at when you finish it. And then it has kind of like this theme to it, like you got a themed edit with like these consistent effects. So that kind of goes hand in hand. And then the last thing is timing. So I think timing is something that will probably never get fully perfect, but there's so many ways to go about doing syncing and timing things, and just like overall execution of like certain effects at a certain time, um, being choosing the clip that you're gonna highlight. um, what's called That's important. Timing is huge. So there's a lot of things that I could say about timing. um, what's called I just I think that's a very important thing. And I think there's very many different ways that you can go about structuring an edit. You don't have to sync to the music. You could do offbeat, which is interesting. You could do an offbeat edit where like you purposefully edit contrary to the actual sync points, that conventional sync points that you would use. So you wouldn't make your sync points, you would just edit kind of like off key. And that consistently doing that ends up being intentional and ends up coming out kind of interesting and pretty unique, because I don't think a lot of people have done stuff like that. That's an interesting way to go about using timing. And then there's other ways to use timing to your advantage, like choosing certain clips to highlight at certain times. I think also we have to take advantage of singular clips, like singular kills. We can't just keep using high multi kills, or like overkill and higher. Um, we have to mix in some triples, some single kills, some clutch double kills. And I know like people are gonna get upset when I say that, but there's a lot of value in those singular clips and those single kill clips that I think people are really underutilizing. And when we start taking advantage of that, I think we're gonna see even better videos. Because you know how hard it is for an editor to like sync up like a fucking Kilimanjaro like to a song like that's let's say the song's like 3 minutes long, like Kilimanjaro, like you have to put it at a certain part, and then you have to like piece the puzzles together, and then who knows, it might not even work out because of the way the song breaks down. And that's another reason why the sound design is so important, because then you can manipulate the sound to kind of work with the clips that you have. So that goes hand in hand. Um, so another thing here is after timing, I kind of go into something else here. I say maybe we got to use more unconventional or atmospheric music as well. So particularly I think like if we use like these conventional songs like rap, things with beats and consistent like melodic kind of like flow to them, that kind of like flow state kind of like melodic tunes. I think there's something to be said about videos that use these like very unique tracks. So the music you pick is very, very important. I think atmospheric tracks, something we can definitely take away from guys like Hyena, um, and yeah, that's pretty much Hyena who does that, and then also Z Trukio as well. Um, what's it called? Those tracks are really, really interesting, and you can do a whole lot of interesting things with them. Particularly mixing in story into the video, I think is really, really neat, and um, works really, really well with the atmospheric tracks. And that also that also leads me to discuss another topic after I discuss this. But basically, I wanted to talk about slowing down edits, even more than we've slowed them down already. I know there seems to be like a there's it's either you go fast or you go slow, but I think just going fast in general, I think is really cool. Like going fast is really cool, it's particularly if you have a fast track, and you can go fast. But that's where the difficulty lies, where you need those singular kills. Because if you're going to go fast, you need those quick cuts. And singular kills are a great way to have quick cuts and also kind of build up to a certain part of the song where you can use a better clip, and really highlight a certain footage there. Um, but what's it called? Atmospheric music. Okay, so story, personality. So personality of a video, um, incorporating themes, incorporating creativity. The personality of a video, like how does a video kind of speak to the viewer? I think is important as well. Like the personality of a video, the kind of video you're making, the overall like energy that it has, the feel that it has, the memorable the memorableness of it. Um, for example, I'd listed this. I'd said videos that incorporate anime or AMV styled edits that push the boundary of how we experience montages. So, like incorporating things into your videos um, that are personal to you. That like, oh, like for example, I did this edit, Escape the Fate, um, and I put um, the Space Jam character in there, and Space Jam is one of my favorite movies. I learned to speak English watching Space Jam like a billion times. If you're not familiar with Space Jam is the movie by Michael Jordan with the Looney Tunes, and he saves everybody, and he gets all the basketball players their talent back after Looney Tunes have to play a bunch of aliens for their freedom in a basketball game. So I love that movie, and I uh I incorporated that alien into the edit, and I think that that's like really cool thing that I think we can touch on and we can use to kind of add more personality and flair to our videos. So like incorporating like anime characters, incorporating anime scenes, incorporating AMV styled edits. AMV style edits, when I say that, is kind of like a lot of typography work, a lot of movement in the scene, a lot of angles, and less, I would say, draw less gameplay oriented, but more editing focused. Where you're kind of like making like this, I don't know how to say it, like this AMV video, audio music video, where you 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 sync up a bunch of the music. I mean, a bunch of the content that you have to the music, and like use typography and use like anime and use like any other kinds of edits, any kind of creative things that you may want to use. You can also use like real life footage. Real life footage is really neat, and I think a lot of people don't take advantage of that nearly as much as they could. Incorporating themselves into the video, incorporating certain things that they like into the video, I think are really neat ways to add personality to a video that I think uh, just aren't taken advantage of as much as they should be. And I understand like people don't want to, some people don't want to put their face on a video, or like certain things they don't want to put too much of themselves into the video. They want to entertain the people. But when we've been making these videos for almost over 20 years now, like you got to get more creative than that and really start kind of like putting yourself out there a little bit more. So like incorporating things like things about you, things about your life, things that you like, stuff like that. Like I think is really cool, and I think would be is an incredible way to push the boundaries and create more personality in a video. And so the next thing I wanted to touch on is slowing down edits to take the pressure off the players. um, so I noticed that players have a lot of pressure. Like it's getting harder and harder for them to get like more unique kind of clips. And I mean the pressure these guys like go on there to get some of this footage. Like imagine like for me, like if I get a triple kill, that's good. Like that's good for me. But then like you've got guys getting triple kills and doing 360 no scopes and like getting the fucking overkill or kill tag after that. I mean, that's insane. And it I mean, think about how many clips, how many times they missed that shot, right? So to take the pressure off the player, I think we definitely gotta slow edits down, unless we're doing a fast edit, right? Like if that's the kind of edit you're doing, then that's different. But I think slowing down an edit and using more atmospheric music while adding more personality to the video, I think is a good idea, to really um, improve our videos. And when I say slowing down edits, I mean like taking like like a singular no scope kill, for example, and making it like 30 seconds long, you know. Um, or like 20 seconds long or something like that. Normally, people would just flash that in like 3 seconds, 5 seconds, and then be on to the next clip. But if you can tell a story between, like, with that clip and really get a bunch of angles and really kind of make it like dramatic and stuff like that with the atmospheric music, with the personality of the video, I think really neat way to really to make a video. And I seen a video by somebody, I forget who. It was in the MVM movie making, uh, what's it called, Discord, and it was just a really slow edit, like to like this kind of like atmospheric kind of music, this like sad like violin type of music. And I think that that kind of like emotional kind of music is really interesting, and like nobody's doing stuff like that. Nobody's making serious like long serious videos like that, or not many people are, at least, or the biggest creators and influencers in the space aren't doing that. So you can take advantage of that. I think is a really neat way to do it. And also slowing down the edit, I think is a really cool way to kind of really help viewers digest the footage, and also take the pressure off the player, so they don't have to come up with 30 clips for you to pick from. They can give you 10, and you can make a 3 to 5 minute video out of 10 clips, you know, because you're slowing down the footage and you're telling the story of each clip. So I think that's a really interesting way that we can make edits kind of uh, stand out a little bit more, and also take the pressure off the players so that they can get even more incredible footage, but also not be pressured to get like all these all these all these clips that are like, oh, it's like a killionaire or whatever, and it's like, half of those kills are like, like you're not going to get a killionaire on like skilled players, like think about that. Like there's no way that I don't care how good you are, you're not going to get a fucking killionaire on like really skilled players, unless it's like, I don't know, a SWAT or something. But yeah, dude, like I think maybe we focus less on the medals, but focus more on the story of the clip, and actually, like, kind of like how Hyena had mentioned, um, what's called, he had mentioned like he had a scene where he was on a mountaintop and he was killing people that were coming at trying to take his flag or something. Like that's really cool. And maybe he didn't get like a bunch of multi kills there. He got like singular kills. But like that's a really neat way that you can structure, that you can get footage, and more creative way that to have some footage than actually like, you know going for just multi kills, or the traditional, the more traditional footage that people have. So I think standing out with the footage is important. Um, yeah. Let me see here. Like if you can make a 5 minute edit from like 6 to 10 clips. So yeah, I think slowing things down like that kind of ratio, like six to like maybe like, like one to two clips, and those are multis, by the way, multi kills. If they're singular kills, it's probably going to take a little bit a little bit more clips. But like if they're multis, like kill tax and or overkills and higher, like two of those clips per minute, I think is a good general guideline. And I'm just saying this off of the top of my fucking head. Like this is not set in stone. I haven't like fucking like figured this out or whatever. I'm just saying like I think 2 clips per minute is probably, in terms of like, there being like 8 kills in there in those 2 clips. I think that's enough time in a minute or so to tell the story of how those 8 kills happen, and slowing down the edit so that you can kind of work in those angles and also tell the story of what exactly happened in the clip, right? And that's another thing. We got to stop using angles just to sync up footage, and like just to sync, like, okay, like I have an angle here just because there's a sync point here. Like there's no I don't think there's any point to having an angle if it doesn't really tell add an additional layer to the actual story. Now there's obviously like exceptions to that if you're making something cool, right? Like if that's the theme of the edit, like I'm not saying that, you know, don't throw in angles when the theme of the edit is to make a cool, like quick cut edit, right? But if the edit is like a themed edit with like, and you're trying to make the player look good, and you're trying to like tell a story of the clips, and really kind of help the viewer digest why the footage is memorable, right? Then you want to present it in a way that makes sense, you know. And so throwing in angles here just to throw an angle here, like just to sync it up with the footage, like it, I mean, with the music, it doesn't make any sense. Let me see what else I got here. I think that'd be huge because you can really focus on delivering the story of a clip. Yep, that's pretty much it. Like focusing on delivering the story of the clip, I think is big. Um, Obviously, like I mentioned, if you're making like a cool style video, like quick cuts and stuff like that, you don't this doesn't apply to that. But I mean, that's because the whole idea of the video is different, or you have an idea of what you're creating at that point. But I think generally, like if we're looking to make videos that are different and really pushing the boundary of what we can create, I think we can definitely draw inspiration from guys like Hyena and ZRT Rookie, the usage of atmosphere and their videos, and also slowing down footage or speeding it up, but also kind of incorporating typography and AMV style kind of edits. I think would be the way to go. And then you don't really need to focus on the 3D at that point. You don't need 3D at that point because the consistency of the video will make it kind of this professional production. Obviously, if you can incorporate 3D, all the power to you, even better. Like if you can bring in the 3D and also have that AMV style video, like that's even going to make it better. But it's not necessary, and I think that's something that that Puba had mentioned to me like a while ago, a couple of years ago. He said, Renzo, like you're stressing out about learning 3D, and like you don't really need to know 3D to make a sick edit, you know, a really good video. So that's something that I always remember, because it's so true. Like you don't need like to be a tech whiz or a software whiz to really make something memorable, right? So um, that's my take on how we can improve our videos beyond sound design. I really wanted to make this video because, you know, I had been, well, I'm not doing anything right now, but I wanted to talk about this because it's something that I care about. You know, I care about this art form, and I want to see like cooler videos that don't look all the same. You know, like I think like we've got this modern formula that a lot of people draw from. It's like this Zola style kind of like polish edits. I think we can definitely take away a lot from like AMV style edits. I think, and then also people draw from like Nikki, from Kaiser and stuff, and like these 3D edits. Like you don't need 3D to make something really memorable. So I'd like to encourage maybe or discourage the use of 3D, because then you're just kind of going with the flow of what worked for these guys, right? Like if you're trying to be innovative and you're trying to innovate in the space and you're trying to be creative and you're trying to be unique and you're trying to stand out, why would you do what everybody else is doing and try to outdo them? Like it just doesn't make sense. You know, like you got to think outside the box at that point. You got to get creative and you got to do something different. So with that, I think I'm going to end the video. So I thank you guys for tuning in, and yeah, I hope my mic's working, man. So I swear to God, like I don't know if my mic is working half the time because it looks like it's working because the little green dots are here working, but I don't know if it's working or not. And then I look at the video after it's done, and then I'm like, oh, okay, like it did work. But yeah, that's how I think we can improve our videos. I think that's a neat, like I think I touched on a lot of really cool stuff. Um, and I'll say this before I leave. I'll say, this just makes me like the innovativeness and everything, like in the space and everything, just makes me appreciate creators like CJ, Muggsy, Katha, Zola, and all the other like guys that like really pushed the boundaries back in the day, so early on that they're still kind of in the picture now. So it's interesting that these guys have contributed so much in that sense, and I think it's really cool. But also it's not exactly good for the scene, because that influence, like a lot of people just try to recreate that and try to draw from it, and pull pull ideas from it, instead of pouring from themselves and from their soul and really creating something unique and creative that really is memorable, in the sense that it's something that they created uh, through genuine inspiration. So with that, I will let you guys go, and I'll see you guys in the next one.